Hello, this is a help video for Unit 2, Lesson 4, some more practice for solving equations. So I'm going to do a couple of the questions here, starting with 33. It wants us to solve each formula for the indicated variable, and a heads up, this skill is on your quiz. So you want to keep practicing it until you're confident. So when they say to solve for the indicated variable, when we're solving for a variable, you want to get it by itself. Okay, so we need to undo all the operations, undo everything that's happening to that variable until it's all alone. That's called doing the inverse. The inverse operation would be the opposite. So if it's an addition, then you subtract. If it's subtract, you would add. And then we have multiplication and division. And as you continue with the course, we're going to learn more operations and more inverses. But for your first unit, it's just starting out with those basic four. So for number 33, we have A equals 1/2 BH. So this is area equals 1/2 the base times the height for a triangle. And the indicated variable, they want you to solve it for H. Okay, right now it's solved for A. See, the A is all by itself. It just says A equals, nothing's being added, multiplied, divided, subtracted from the A. It's all alone. So we want to do that here with the H. So let's look at this. What's happening to the H? Well, we have 1/2 base height. This operation is multiplication. So right now, 1/2 base is being multiplied by the height. Okay, it's 1/2 times the base times the height. So to undo that, we divide. So we can do it divided by 1/2 b together, or you can do them piece by piece, doesn't really matter. So if we're taking 1/2 divided by 1/2, when you divide by a fraction, you're really multiplying by the reciprocal, and 2 divided by 2 just simplifies to 1 on this side, and we do the same thing here. Okay, so any operation you're doing, you want to make sure that this stays equal, so you have to do, if you do it on this side, you have to do it on this side. So we're taking 1/2 and we're dividing it by itself, so it'll cancel to 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. And then I have divided by 1/2 here. But remember, when you divide by a fraction, that means multiply by the reciprocal. So A divided by 1/2, that's the same thing as 2 times A. Okay? Change this from dividing to multiplication. Instead of 1/2, it's 2/1. Okay, so that canceled out the 1/2. Now we need to cancel out the b. So this is b times h, so we're going to divide by b. Anything divided by itself is just 1. I have to do it on this side and this side. So we have h equals 2a over b. Let's try another one. Let's do 34. S equals 1/2 gt squared. Right now it's solved for S. They want us to solve it for G. So we need to undo the 1/2 t squared, get the G all by itself. So again, these are all multiplication here. So let's undo each piece. So 1/2 times G, the inverse of that, the opposite of that, is divide by 1/2. And again, you have to do it on both sides. Anything divided by itself is 1. And then S divided by 1/2 is the same thing as S times 2/1. So we get 2S equals GT squared. Now I have G times T squared. So I want to undo that. I divide by T squared. Anything divided by itself is just 1. I have to do that on both sides. So I get G equals 2S over T squared. Okay, let's do 35 and 36 just to make sure we're all extra confident with this. volume equals length times width times height, which is V equals Lwh. Don't really need to know what the variables stand for. We don't need to do anything for them. We're just moving them around. You don't solve for W. We don't need to know what W is, if it's 2 or 3 or 4. We're just trying to get it by itself. Once you get more comfortable, you can say, okay, well, W is being multiplied by the length times the height. You can divide by both of them. Length cancels, height cancels. W equals volume divided by length times height. So you can do that in one step. I equals PRT. We want to solve this one for R. It's being multiplied by the P, so we divide by P to cancel it out. Multiply it by the T, divide by T to cancel it out. Just make sure you do it on both sides. Okay, and there's your help video for these questions.